Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of Metanoia Mind Shift. Like I usually say that on this platform, we want to have honest conversations about meaningful topics. It's a conversation that is geared to just ensure that to emphasize the place of introspection, the place of how powerful our mind is, to let us know that, especially in a world where there's a lot of information out there, most of the time, most often than not, what we need is just within us, just to think about things, introspect, and then that's the power you need that you have inside of you. So that's the point of metanoia. And on today's episode, they would usually say that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade out of it. But what about people that life makes for them beds of roses, or like would say that they came with silver spoon? How do they navigate life? So that's what we want to talk about. What are the lessons we can learn from people like that? How did they go through life? And then just to see how that can help us. So on today's episode, I have my very good friend. I'm not going to say his name because he wouldn't introduce himself, but he's a very good friend, someone I love. So, hello, friend. Can you please introduce yourself on this podcast?
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Mukhtar. Let me give a formal introduction. My name is Mukhtar Mustafa. As Olamide said, we're very good friends. We've known each other for about let's say
Since
over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. 2006. We're over like wow. That's close to 20 years next year by God's grace.
Actually, yes.
Olamide says I was born with a silver spoon. So okay,
we're going to find out.
let's stick with that.
Yeah. We're going to find out. And yeah, like I told you, no pressure. It's just to hear your own journey, to hear your story, and to see life from your perspective. Like I said, that's how I say it. That you are raised with privilege. So, but I just want to hear your journey, what that looked like. And like I said to Mukhtar, we've been friends since 2006. And for me, Mukhtar is that friend that if I want to bounce things off and I want facts, I also want to lay it out to me straight. It's Mukhtar I go to. So he does not sugarcoat things. If it's the way it is, he's going to tell you. Okay, so Mukhtar, like I said, we're talking about being raised in privilege, life from your perspective, more or less. So first question, do you agree with the fact that you're raised with privilege?
Okay, I would say I was raised with privilege not all through my life, if I'm being honest. So some parts of my life, which maybe I can't fully remember, I wasn't raised with privilege. But as I always say, sometimes privilege is should I say subjective or based on the way you see life, or based on your social cycles, to be honest. So, but I'm going to agree to a large extent. I definitely believe that looking at the Nigerian setting and the social cycle, I was raised with a certain level of privilege that I would say most people did not have that, like maybe experience or certain benefits that I had at a young age.
Okay, so what was it like for you when you were growing up? From that, like, what was life like? What was growing up as a kid like for you when you were much younger?
Growing up for me as a kid, it was a bit, I would say it was enlightening. Let me start. It was a bit initially. My dad, when I was born, my dad didn't have a job for a couple of years.
Okay.
That was a bit tough. He did have a job for a couple of years. Then my mom wasn't working, so that also affected obviously the money and like how much. So that was a bit tough. Subsequently, things got better. I went to a primary school where I would say I felt I was beneath. I don't want to say. I felt
you saw them as kids with privilege.
Yeah, kids of privilege. I didn't have the privilege. So, for example, in primary school, maybe like early primary school, when people go for summer, like in July, this long 3-6 months, September, people come back with like new shoes from like London. Oh, you went to London, you went to UK. I would be like, oh, I stayed at home, I went to the village, I went to stay with a sister, the uncle, or my shoe will be for maybe the market in Lagos. My
Echo.
mom, Echo, exactly. My mom went to go and get a nice something that will last longer. Something that maybe I might wear for 2 years, not just the hair. But I would see like my classmates talking about, oh, I went to London, I went to America. I can't really
You
relate
went
to
to
that.
Ikogosi. Abi
Yeah, I mean,
Ikosun.
exactly. I went to Houston, so I can't really relate. But I would say I can't remember. I would say maybe between primary three and primary four. Let's say primary four, primary five. I think then I traveled for the first time. I think it was London, then Dubai. So then I felt okay. I'd
You're
arrived.
catching up.
Meet I bought shoe. I could say I went to London. I've gone to Dubai now. I could say that I
Yeah.
could say yes. I'm well to do. I'm getting better, and things were looking much like
Yeah.
my parents were doing much better financially and in social circle to
Yeah.
the extent. So things were definitely much better. I was traveling, enjoying life. Before we were living in a rented place. I think in primary five thereabouts.
Yeah.
My dad built a property, so we moved. I did the birthday party birthday party. We're living in cool. We're living in cool. I did a birthday party. That felt really good. My friends came.
Yeah.
Although it was a birthday party, my sister and myself together. My sister was born in February. I'm born in July. We did to combine.
So
So
when
it's
did
just,
you do? What month did you do that kind of birthday party?
I forgot it, but it was maybe towards my own period. We did joints. I can remember we had a book, Mukhtar name at his birthday, but we could not do separate. We did joints. And we did it in a corridor at home. But it was still really nice to people like some of my friends came to the house. I could show them, oh, this is where we live. Like
Oh, nice.
I
It
felt a
felt
bit,
good, like we're catching up,
yeah,
something like that.
catching up. If that was in maybe Magodo, Ogudu, for instance, places in Lagos, if
Yeah.
for people that don't know, better places in Lagos, I would have maybe
Yeah.
felt I've finally arrived, but I felt like I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So that was
Okay, for
so
me,
yeah.
go.
So
Maybe you move to K2 like that.
executive, yes. So yeah. So I would say yes. I would say yes. Then because my primary school was not like a big school, but was like I won't say I would say it's a middle class school in Nigeria. It's a primary
Okay.
school, good middle class school. So at primary five, primary six, we're using, for example, using boards that had markers, not chalkboards. Then
Okay.
when I was leaving primary six, they were going from to electronic board, like digital board. So I felt like, okay, yes, come on, I'm well to like, I know I've traveled, I've seen life,
Yeah.
I've seen like this is what life should be.
Yeah. This is what they
This
used to
is
talk about, and I'm
yeah,
already experiencing it.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
the plan is to travel maybe every summer if possible. That kind of experience. Then you go from going to school in a middle class primary school. I can definitely say that. Then to going to a secondary school in Ilorin, Kwara State,
Yeah.
which
Before you
honestly,
get there,
okay,
because I think
okay,
that's on that point I can begin to share. Before you get
okay.
there, so it seems to me like like you said, there was when you were born, the dad had not gotten a job there. So it
Mm.
feels like you also experienced a shift from not having to having. What
Yes,
was
yes.
that experience like? Like, did anything change as regards to your training, how you were taught about money, and what were the kind of lessons they taught you as regards to money, your
Okay,
parents?
okay. When it comes to my parents were actually, I think I would say my dad was especially was quite. I would say my dad is a discipliner. Is very loving, but like he has certain things that he wouldn't negotiate, like things
Mm,
like rouse responsibility. Why I can't remember so much in regards of when we didn't when things were a bit tough. I can't remember so much. But what I
yeah,
remember about like life growing up in like when I was in primary school was more about my dad was always more about like about doing the right things, morals, being responsible, not not like my mom sometimes maybe I'll come and say I want to buy this because I'm seeing my classmates with that, but she would say to me, you should like be satisfied with what you have, like so that once you're satisfied with what you have, God sees you, and then obviously things will get better, and then as things get better, you might be able to get more things, but never don't be greedy and don't be stingy and don't be a glutton, don't ask for more than what
yeah,
has more than what God has given you. So I'll say yeah, that's something that I think was key for me in terms of, because as a kid you always want more, especially when your mates have more.
Yeah, especially when
Like,
you have when you have your friends. Yeah,
yeah, you see your friends' parents with bigger cars, like drivers at that point. So it's like it was a bit, I think, wanting as a child, wanting more, wanting that more, wanting more. But I think something I learned was about, as much as possible, be content with what you have. That's the way to live life. Because as a, if you
yeah.
get more, to an extent, you can always see someone that has more, and you think, okay, I want more. So
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
not so
your ceiling is somebody else's floor, Yeah, and-
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Because the reason why I asked about upbringing, because you said something which you would get to later about how you said your mindset was when we were in school, and I was shocked
Yeah.
because for me, I felt like you were you really handled it well in terms of
Okay.
I saw you as someone who was very humble, someone who even more than other, if you were to tilt to any extreme, I felt like you were even trying to play too calm,
Okay.
that
Really? Okay.
yeah, like playing too humble. That's how I saw you. I
Okay.
felt like I
Okay.
like how this guy lives his life. Like
Okay.
he has, but he's not trying to lord it over you. So I was really shocked when you said what you said. So, but
Okay.
but what I hear from you now is that the training, even when the switch happened, was consistent in terms of money.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah. Yeah.
you had expectations that okay, things have become better. Okay, why can't you guys do this thing for me? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
from an African perspective, what we grew up with, or I can speak from the other side, the ones that were not that now have bed of verses, even as much as
Yeah.
my parents tried their best. Yes, you often see people who have, and you say it as you look at them from a high place, and
Yes.
oftentimes
Yes. Yes.
when people, so you get a new car, it's very easy for people to think, oh, why are they showing off?
Yeah.
So seeing you and then seeing that, and then expectations like people whose parents have who are privileged, whose parents give them the opportunity, they have money, maybe they spoil them. You would hear
Yeah.
we see movies about pampering and all that, but it seems
Yeah.
like that was not the case. You still
Yeah.
they raised you like, in your opinion, you feel like you grew up just like every other kid. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. I think but that I said was very strong on discipline, and because my dad always kind of says that it feels like if you like the kids that are born with like a silver spoon, it feels they don't have like as much motivation as someone that has less, because from his own child's experience, he wasn't born with a silver spoon, so so it feels like you have more motivation to work harder if you have less to an extent. So you feel that sometimes once you have too much, once a parent give their child too much, they are not motivated to work
Yeah,
hard. So
true.
they just lounge around. But you can be well to do, but still in a way try your best to make your child motivated to see life and work hard. So I think that was the key thing I learned from my parents.
Yeah. Did you understand that at the time, or is this is based on how you've grown, or do you
No,
think
no,
you
no,
understood
no.
what they were doing at the time?
Definitely, definitely not. I don't understand that. Definitely not. Definitely, I definitely don't understand that. Even in secondary school, I probably didn't understand. I think it's probably now that when I take a look back and think about life, I see, okay, certain things my parents did or motivated me to do has made me who I am today in that sense. But I don't think I saw
Mm,
it in primary school. Definitely in secondary school, probably maybe, but I don't really think so. I think it's something that maybe it's more of maybe towards ending of university, and now that I'm when I think of
true.
life, I say, okay, this key part of me, where do I get it from, or what has made me in a certain way?
Yeah, true, true. So now we're getting to that secondary school part, and
Yeah,
the reason why this is important is because um, like we always said, each time from the first time I told you about the topic, you felt like, no, I'm not raised from that. I wasn't raised like that, not privileged
yeah,
and all that. But this is how someone is viewing you.
yeah,
And like I
yeah,
said,
and
you think it was pretty normal. You felt like,
yeah.
but I did a check online, which is
Mm.
public knowledge.
Yeah,
That is Nigeria. I just asked, is Nigeria
yeah,
considered a poor country,
yeah,
not natural resources? And the answer
yes,
was that yes, Nigeria is considered a poor country, especially when
yeah,
you
I
consider
understand
the
that.
standard of living. So
Even
you
for the
can
average here.
understand, yeah, you can understand why someone will think that, oh, this person. So when you, and we always see this things online, why someone would say that, oh, when we say I had nothing, not be your own type of nothing. Do you get? So,
Yeah, I get it.
but metanoia is the idea that this is how you are seeing someone. This is your own perspective, but this is the other person's perspective. So for someone who is still raising their kids now, maybe they are the rich ones. They understand that you don't have to have the superiority mentality because your ceiling, like I said, is someone else's floor. Yeah. And so now when that switch happened, so you've always felt like, oh, I would even look at my colleagues and feel like, they have more than me, or me, I'm not privileged. So when that switch happened, and by the way, we didn't go to a poor secondary school. There were really people who were well to do. I think it's more about the environment, being in Lorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So when that switch happened, when you then have to come to Ilorin to come and do school.
Yeah.
How did that feel, mental? How did you navigate that? How did you approach that initially? What was the experience like for you?
I think I really, really struggled, especially from my JS1 to probably early JS to the first 2-3 years. I really, really struggled, if I'm being honest. I struggled because I had applied to bigger, let me see the word. It's not even about necessarily Ilorin or Kwara State. It's more about, for me, it was more about the school itself because I applied to bigger schools within the same state. And I got rejected. I didn't pass. So that was, and also my parents were actually my dad was specifically rejoicing, not rejoicing, but I feel deep down he was happy that I didn't get into the bigger schools that I applied to within Kwara State, because the school was his school is Adesoye. It was more expensive, definitely. It was more expensive, man, and our school was if I'm being honest, it was for my parents. My
parents felt like that was really expensive. My parents felt like that was really expensive. So someone that used to look at my dad, someone used to look at my dad that Olu, that's my dad's name. That see the amount he's paying for school fees.
Okay,
it was about 100,000 thereabout. Okay. So they used to look at my dad like that. See the kind of money you're going to go and pay. Because interestingly, sorry to cut you.
Yeah, no,
my dad didn't even know about our school. It was another of his friend that his daughter wrote the exam and passed.
Okay.
So they suggested that my dad should allow me to take the exam. So when I took the exam and passed, we just found out that the girl was not going to attend the school. That's his friends. Why? Because of the school fees. So when we passed and they gave us the school fees, he felt it was too much. So he took her to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was the school fees that discouraged him. That's to just show you that it was really expensive. For my parents, and the way I see them is they were taking a step of faith. They were trying to invest in their child. I'm going to send him to the best school. So you see the difference. That's what I'm talking about.
I said that because definitely I definitely don't think my dad felt at that point in time that it was expensive, because they were all like, I applied to, I don't know if I did exam in Nigerian Turkish in Lagos, which was definitely more expensive. And so I think the cheapest private school that exam I did for was Eucharistic. The school we went for. EAJ. That was, so it was a bit, for me it felt like I was going down. Honestly, it was difficult. First of all, the name of the school itself, in short, if you were, what school are you going to? You have to give long twister. Then it's not as if anybody knows the school. That's another problem. So if it was a long name, and then people I'm going to so most of my primary school friends were going to big schools, schools in Lagos. Then me, I felt that I've landed already. Now I've landed. Now you're taking me down back to. You're taking me back to
where I started from.
Where I started from. Come on. Yeah. So that was So it was very tough. I think my parents they made that decision based on, because my grandma used to be Catholic, and she lived in Ilorin. So for them, it was like this reputation about Catholic schools that they are very good for
education,
discipline. It was more for my parents. It was more of the good education, definitely, but also more important discipline and well grounded. So I think that was the major reason why my parents told me said I should go there, because of those two things: discipline and being well grounded.
Okay, so you say you struggled. Can you be? Yeah, I understand the part that you came down.
Okay. Let me give example.
Let me give.
Okay, so now now we go to like Eucharistic out of Jesus Middle College. First of all, that's a long name. Then next thing, we're going to the farm. There's like a farm. There's like I've never in my life before then, never ever gone to the farm. Never. What am I going to go and do in the farm for? You have to do it. I forgot it like that. That was very.
We
That
had to
was that
wash
was
plates.
new. We have to wash up. We have to wash plates. You have to
Everybody's
sweep.
plate.
You have to sweep a road. Road on Saturday. You
Yeah.
sweep road. Then pit latrine. Oh my god. I don't want to go into that. Pit latrine. Then like the by almost every other day.
Yeah.
But every beans like no like the food was terrible. It was just like an out of the world experience. The uniforms were looked very shabby, awkward for me.
Yeah.
It was just I don't know. Like also, so many people. Like for example, I went to one of my best friends back then was going to a different secondary school. I followed him in Lagos for a start date. It was like maybe 5 people in a room. Like
Wow.
they had people that they
We
had like
cannot
they were
relate.
going to get like they were going to get like washing man, someone to wash their coat for them. You get it was like they
Yeah.
had like a room where they could watch TV, just 4 or 5 people. Then me now coming to my own secondary school, maybe the old year one in one room is like maybe 20, 25 people. The bunk there is no space. Like it's just like so it was like, what am I doing exactly here? I'm better.
Yeah.
I'm better than this. I'm better than
It,
this.
it really felt like you struggled. You did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I struggle. I
Okay.
struggle. Yeah,
So yeah, that one is clear. So in terms of
yeah,
interacting, aside
yeah,
from because I feel like some part of the things you mentioned is really like the school in which the way it was set up. In
yeah.
terms of interacting with others,
With
and like
people.
I said, we also
Okay.
had people who were well off.
Yeah,
They could relate. Maybe levels are different, anyways, but we have
yeah.
people who are well off. But in terms of interacting, did you think that? And I said I was going to always. I've always thought I was going to ask you. Did you feel like you had to shrink to belong?
That's a good question. I would say I genuinely felt I was better off. I
Okay.
genuinely felt why you said that. It just this is me being honest and being retrospective.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think in year one, I honestly try to think about it. I honestly didn't think there was anybody that I felt that was, should I say directly or am I be wrong? That felt like okay was all that. I guess maybe there were people that probably had money, but I didn't feel like there were people that kind of I could see that this person definitely has money. In,
Yeah,
in retrospect, there are people that had money, but I don't feel like there are people that had money that showed that maybe that had the
that showed it. That
experiences
made
that
it
I had already
obvious.
that showed it obvious. So for me, it
Yeah,
was more of interacting with people, and it was like, okay, so I'm coming from Lagos. I have an idea of like what life is in interaction. So I kind of felt at that point I was in a way better than let me say 99.9% of people. I felt I was better. I was better, like,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
in my just one.
Hold your thought because as much as I wasn't privileged from that point of view, I
Yeah,
think even
yeah,
at the time we joined, there was this kind of difference between you're coming out of Ilorin from a place like Abuja and the place of
yes, yes,
Ilorin. There was this difference, even in terms of how you saw life. So I can
yeah,
agree that to some extent. So sometimes I also felt like, okay, this feels a bit. The people at the time still did feel that there was that kind of experience. Let me just put it that way.
yeah,
So
yeah,
even just the fact that from different city, Lagos to Ilorin, it did feel like that
yeah,
for me sometimes. Yeah.
yeah,
So did you have to
yeah,
shrink
definitely.
to belong, like
To be
to now
honest,
have friends? Did you think, okay, now you believe
no,
that you were,
I didn't really. I don't think I can remember having friends in the first 1 or 2 years. To be honest, that's the honest truth. I
hmm,
don't think I had friends. I definitely just feel like I feel number one. I'm kind of a shy person. So
yeah,
if I'm kind of a shy person, so even till now, when people meet me, they might think I'm stuck up. But like when I get to know you, I'm comfortable. I tend to talk more. But so back then, it was more like I felt I was not like I was in the wrong place. I felt I was better off. So in a way, I just
kind of
stay
shut
clear.
off? Yeah,
Like like my plan was okay by just two or something year two. I was going to find a way to leave the school. Like so, it was
hmm,
my plan was this is not a long term goal. This is just like a short
okay,
term goal. And I was also shy, so I just stayed in the shell
okay,
and didn't really
okay,
make a lot of friends.
okay,
So like
okay.
I guess in a way, I felt maybe at that point in time, I didn't feel like I was shrinking. I just felt I'm going to cut myself off because I don't belong here.
Okay, makes sense. So what changed? And now we've almost spent 25
Okay.
minutes, but so
No, no,
what
no, that's fine.
changed?
I'm enjoying
What
this.
what
What changed?
changed?
I think changed. First of all, my sister joined when I was in year two. She was in year one, so that changed. Realizing one that this is a long term. This is if my sister is here, this is a long term.
For him to
It's
bring
not
you
a
here,
short
for
thing.
him to bring your
Yes,
sister here,
yeah,
it means that
it's not. But my sister was she was not happy at all. She kind of felt like because she kind of felt because she passed the schools I didn't pass, so she kind of felt that they brought her to EAJ because of me, to be honest. Because if
okay,
she was the firstborn and she had passed the other school that I didn't pass,
you will not
we
be
would not
there.
be in AJ.
Okay,
We will be in Adesoye. The only reason why I'm in the while AJ was because I didn't pass
yeah,
Adesoye's exam.
okay,
So yeah, so one, and so I think in my mind I kind of realized like okay, this is long term. This is long term. This is not short term. So
might
I think
as well just
that
get with the
yes, I
program.
think so. But I think yes too. I can't remember. I think it was more of in year three that I actually maybe year three that I kind of started talking a bit more. I became like I became like more open and started talking more. Yeah.
Okay, so
So that's what changed.
okay, so in terms of now life generally now, in terms of if you look back at that experience, first of all, at what point in your life did you look back at that experience and feel like, okay, this was good for me, even in terms of from the money angle, in terms of how I approach resources, opportunities. At what point did you look back, and what were the lessons you say you probably took out of it from
Hmm.
that experience?
Okay. I would say, to be honest, I would say I probably looked back a bit more after university, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Because initially, when I went to university, I kind of felt like the secondary school went to limited my opportunity when it comes to like mindset and also learning a bit. So it was probably after university when I'm a bit more much older, I kind of like step and think about like, what did I actually, how did this secondary school actually impact my life positively? And that's when I actually reflected a bit more.
Okay. So for you now, if you were to do it all over again, but this time you're the one that was going to control it, how
Mm,
would you, or let's say now, I mean, we're getting to that age where we're going to raise kids.
yeah.
With your own experience, how would you
Mm,
say that experience would shape you or would make you think about raising kids, a kid that would have privilege, understanding that there'll be people who don't have as much as it does?
yeah.
How would your experience, your journey so far, how is it going to shape you to raising your own kid? Or if you are going to raise someone who is in that kind of position you were previously?
Okay. I'd say if I'm in the same setting in Nigeria, in the same setting, like the same setting, and my partner and my wife and I agreed that we want to take our child to boarding school. I definitely think if I have like a similar school like the one we went to available now,
Yeah.
still like with the same morals, with the same education, good, I'll probably do that. Yes, but the only difference I'll make is during summer holidays, I would try and give my child a bit more level of exposure when it comes to like maybe summer schools. Do you get so in a way
Yeah.
have a best of both worlds. Okay, summer schools where you meet other people from different settings, different schools, and interact more, get soft skills. Because I feel like
Yeah.
our school they really teach us more of soft skills. So getting those soft skills. So that was I think I would definitely still take my child if I'm in a similar setting to to
To
that secondary school to because I think the morals and discipline I learned from there, I think is something that definitely shapes who I am, and it's
okay.
positive.
Okay. Thank you. So just two more
Big,
questions. In terms of your
yeah.
perspective to life, given
Mm.
from your experiences and all that, not just secondary school now. In terms of your perspective to life, how would you say you approach life? How would you say what's your mindset towards life, towards opportunities, towards what you have at present? If it is something somebody gave you or something you had to
Mm.
work for, what would you say is your perspective towards life? Because I think oftentimes, especially from where we're coming from, and I say this a lot,
Mm.
Africa, we are still in this survivor mode where
Mm.
there's always that tendency to look at people who have what you need, to just
Yeah.
get lost in thinking, okay, it's just about me getting what they have and then my life is settled. So, what's your
Yeah.
perspective towards life personally? All your experiences put together. How do you approach life? How do you think is the best way? Or even if you're going to advise somebody, what's your perspective towards life from everything put everything in together?
Okay, I think one of the key things which sometimes I sometimes struggle with, if I'm being honest, is being satisfied at every stage
Okay.
in life. Like everyone, especially trying to be a better Muslim and being religious,
Yeah.
everyone at the end of the day has the different parts.
Yeah.
Everyone has. I don't want to compare myself with anyone else. I just try and live my life based on, okay, this is what I'm doing and try and be better. To be
Okay.
honest,
Okay.
so I think that's the key thing for me is like the way I live my life now is to be content with what I have, work harder, look for opportunities, and then try and get to a better place in life. But try my best to be content and not compare myself to others or wish I had something someone else has.
Okay.
I think that's
Awesome.
a key thing I learned, because I think also this is going back a bit, because I
That's right.
think after I left secondary school a bit, I kind of in my head felt like I needed to be, if I felt like if I felt like I was let me use what I was after a while in secondary school, I felt I was a big boy, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So in my head, if I felt like I was a big boy, I kind of felt like I needed to go out and be successful. Like you don't like I kind of always be afraid of when you watch movies, like you do 10 years, 20 years reunion, then
Mm.
you now become like I'm like, okay, like what are you doing?
So
Then
that
I
was the
can't really say
drive.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like so. So after all the money, after all the foreign
Everything.
education, you can everything. So in a way, I think in a way that kind of in a way, maybe I took that too much, like trying to show that okay, I don't want anybody to think it's a waste. What are the activities life? What are they achieved with the money?
Yeah.
Like with the benefits from his parents. So I think so. But now what I try to do is not to live my life for myself, not
Not
to try
because
and
of people,
not
not because
try
of what they will say.
exactly, exactly not because of what people will say or what people might think. It's about am I satisfied with myself, which is more important.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Good.
it.
I know I shall go to the last question, but something just came to my mind and I want to
No,
ask
yeah,
you.
no, fine, fine. You feel free. I'm
So
enjoying.
do you think at any point because of what you said, do you think you had to prove a point to people from because I remember in school you really challenged me myself personally. And maybe
Mm.
this is I don't know if it's the first time we're talking about it, but there was a point in school that time that it felt like your drive just changed. The way you
Yeah, that's
approached the academics at the time. I
yeah,
remember the courses you passed and then you skilled that time. Do you think at any
yeah.
point you were driven by just the fact that I want to prove more than the fact that my I'm a rich kid? Did that drive
Mm.
you at any
Not
point, or do you think it
to be
was
honest,
just normal? Your colleagues, I mean, we had very smart people. Do you think it was just how
mm,
people were doing? You just feel like, okay, me too, I can do better, or do you think it was really about I need to prove a point that it's not just about my
mm.
dad or my resources of my parents?
Not to be honest, I would say it was. I would say that period talking about was secondary school,
Yeah,
senior secondary school.
yeah,
That's when I actually my drive changed. I think to be honest, I don't think it was down to proving necessarily about money. It was down to proving that okay, I'm not stupid, I'm not dull,
okay,
because I really didn't do well for the first 3 years. It was down to proving that I can be something.
mm,
And also and lastly it was also down to challenging like challenging being with my then girlfriend, not or my then girlfriend, not trying to
like a
look
dummy.
stupid, trying to, like a dummy. So trying to and because I felt like people start like if you're doing well in grade, girls tend to see you more, they tend to respect you more, they tend to
Mm,
okay, you're not stupid. It's not about money. I felt like for while I could maybe spend more like if you go out that's fine, but I also wanted to show I have money and also I have
mm,
brains. I'm not just money, so I think it was more of proving to myself and also in a way being able to show that I'm more than just I travel every summer. or I wear the nicest
Thank
shoes,
you.
or I have the nicest provision, whatever it is.
Okay, thank you. Because that's really important that you said that, because I know that I want to believe that I want a lot of people to listen to this, but to be honest, the target audience I'm trying to focus on are the teens, like those teen boys, because I
Yeah.
honestly believe that we're in a transition phase, whether we like it or not, where we are now getting into that shoes, and there are a lot of lessons we can tell them that what defines you as a guy is not really about your looks, something more. And that's why you
Yeah.
said that you wanted to show that it's not just about I have good summer, or I'm the guy that everybody will say, okay, he's rich, money.
Yeah.
You went for something that was tangible, which is success, which is to
Yeah.
show that, okay, I can prove myself, which I think is really, 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 really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in
Yeah.
terms of final advice, not final, you will still come here anytime. We still have a long way to go. And this is not to say that we've
Yeah.
arrived, but if you were to say to a young boy or a young guy that is raised with privilege, from that point of view, like if you're going to say anything to him, he's in school right now, he sees his friends, he sees that he has this money. Let's say even someone that is even richer
Yeah.
than you, if you're going to say anything to him, what would be the advice you would give that young guy? And that's
Okay.
one. And then, or if you're going to say to another person, well, maybe his parent doesn't have as much, but he's looking at this other guy that they're rich. What would you say to them as a young African doing well in his own business right now, or doing well in his own career path? What advice would you give to those teenagers?
Like I think the first part, if you're from well to the family, I would say find something you love, a career like if it's for your future, and focus on that and find a way to be able to commercialize that and make money out of it. Because I genuinely feel that most people that are come from sometimes from less privileged background, I feel sometimes they have a bit more motivation
Yeah.
than if sometimes you're well to do. So I feel sometimes the drive can be immense from people from lower backgrounds than people from
Yeah.
middle class backgrounds. So I'll say find something you love. Don't necessarily go with the crowd.
Yeah.
Find something you can make it like a positive difference in.
Mm.
Then secondly, I would say like your integrity, your morals matter a lot in today's world. Where things might be skewed, attitude might be skewed, bad behavior might be easily skewed. I think who you are as a person,
Yeah.
integrity, and your approach to life really matters. So I would
Yeah.
say don't, like, you might have money, you might have privilege, but don't let that get into your head.
Yeah.
Because you might have it today, doesn't mean
You
you have
might
it
not have
tomorrow.
it tomorrow. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I
Solid
said
point.
find something you love, find something you can bring. So that even if so that in the future you can if something happens to maybe your parents' funding or something, you have your own career where you can bring in money. You can stand on your own two
Yeah.
feet. I
Yeah.
would say yes. Find something you love and try and make a life, make a career out of it, and like your
Solid.
attitude solid. And also I would say like with relationship with God also, definitely I
Yeah.
think that's also very key, because that's also
Yeah.
is
That's the foundation of everything. Yeah.
foundation. Because if to be honest, because if you're the richest person, and you have a strong understanding of what it means, like what God means, like
Yeah.
religion, I think that would also definitely affect how you treat people,
True.
how you interact with people, and
True.
and also integrity, everything. So honestly, I should start with that. I think that's definitely the foundation and more important. So
Yeah.
so that's the first question. So second question. So it's someone
It's
that's from
looking
a
at the
lower.
privileged person. Yeah.
I would say for someone, okay, don't. To be honest, if I'm being honest, don't look at now.
Mm.
Don't look at now. Think about the future. There are people that seniors in secondary school that I think about it now. I've seen them that when we were in secondary school, I definitely felt like, oh, I was bigger than them. I had
Mm.
more than them. But I see them now, and like I'm respect, because I'm like, I feel like they've been able to work hard and they have more than what I might have now, or even what my parents have, because
Mm.
I respect them. So I'm saying I see that now. Like, so I say to people, don't look at where you are now.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at the next 1 year, 2 years. Look at 10 years down the line. What is your plan?
Life
Are
has a
you
way of humbling you.
exactly? If you think it's based on what you have now, then you're deceiving yourself.
Yeah.
Literally, like it's in Nigeria, you're one sickness away from being poor, or being,
Yeah.
so it's about your parents might have money today, but doesn't mean the next 10 years they'll have money.
Yeah.
So it's about what are you doing? Don't be stuck in, oh, my parents are this, I don't have opportunities. Try your best to make the best use of where you are and plan ahead.
Yeah.
Because that way, to be honest, in the next 10 years, God willing, you will be in a much better place, possibly than someone that just feels, oh,
My parents have
my
money.
parents will my parents have money. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Thank you. That was a very good advice for people who are privileged, because from a culture where we've come from, things are changing, but most of the times, the people who think they are going to have they always have it every time, and then they just live life anyhow. And then there are some people again who they are just careless. They just feel like, same to the point that they think always like, but like you said, find what you love and keep doing it in such a way that you can even leverage the advantage of your parents. So, for example, then the person that did not have, maybe they will tell him, you must be a doctor or you must be a this. You had the privilege of not like the person that has the privilege to say that I want to be an astronaut or I want to be this course, and they will tell you, okay, is that what you want? Then they will send you to the best schools, and then you can tailor your passion. Or if you is music, so the point is, now that you are in privilege, recognize it, accept it. There's nothing to be ashamed about that your parents are rich. There's nothing. There's nothing nice about poverty. There's nothing nice that you have a dream and you can't purchase it, so or you can't pursue it. So if you're in privilege, just take advantage of it, because you never know when the tide will change. And if you don't have as well, you can always pursue. You can always dream hard, work hard, and don't think because somebody has you deserve to be cleaning their shoes, and then you just do whatever they tell you to do. But thank you very much, Bambash. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for the
Bambash
input. Bambash for 01. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I remember you're this. Apart from my wife, you're the first person I told about opening a podcast, and I don't know if you remember what you told me when I said it. You're like something like you've always expected it, or yes. And I felt like, wow, this is a sign that I need to do. So thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the advice, and thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. So that's it on today's episode of Metanoia. The point remains: learn to take a step back from life, to introspect, learn to take some step back from life, not just to focus on the information that is outside all the time, especially in a generation where we have information everywhere. Sometimes maybe the solution you need or the answer to what you need just for you to think, for you to introspect, take a step back, because your mind is powerful. Our mind is powerful. So that's the point of Metanoia, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.